Across the world, the involvement of women in the construction industry is much better than what it was a decade back. But the pace is slower. And the first question that comes in our mind is how diverse is the industry when it comes to gender? Welcome to the latest episode of Construction Week's Expert Interview Series, where we speak to industry leaders about the top trends, innovations, and challenges facing the construction, infrastructure, and real estate sectors. With us today are Reed Smith's partner, Michelle Nelson, and associate Rachel Larkin, who will touch upon gender diversity in the industry. Thank you for joining us on the show, Rachel and Michelle.
Thanks for having us.
To start off with findings from industry research, which shows that companies could increase productivity by up to 40% by increasing gender diversity. Rachel, how does this apply to the construction industry in the MENA region?
As a lawyer, I'm not involved at present in the construction industry, but I did work as in-house counsel for a construction company for some time, so I think I can speak to it to some degree. Mm-hmm. I mean, it depends, I suppose, what you mean by productivity. For example, if you had, 40% of your bricklayers being female, I'm not sure that would have any effect on productivity one way or the other. Mm-hmm. But I certainly think when you start to talk about, members of engineering staff, quantity surveyors, then you can get a real difference in results if you have a more diverse team. And I think also once you get up to C-suite level, there's a different approach. There can be a different approach between men and women on, appetite for risk and all sorts of factors that I think it's been proved across all industries. The more diverse a board you have, the better the decisions that come out of it.
And Michelle, since your practice focuses on oil and gas and construction infrastructure sector, what are your thoughts on the same?
I echo a lot of what Rachel has said. I think the regional construction industry is probably no better and no worse than its global colleagues across the world. It's fair to say that there's no more than sort of 10% of women in the industry. And echoing what Rachel has said, I think having a more diverse representation across the sector can only be to the positive. And similarly to what Rachel has said, I think having practiced as a lawyer in the construction and as you say infrastructure, oil and gas area here for more than 16 years, I've never found that gender has been an issue from our side in terms of dealing with our clients and dealing with people on the other side from disputes, etc. And as Rachel says, quite often a positive, because it brings a different outlook, a different approach, and certainly the way in which you can engage with disputes in perhaps a less sort of confrontational manner, looking to find positive solutions, etc. And I think if you've got different sort of personalities, backgrounds and experiences across the board, it can only be a positive, particularly in current climate where everyone's facing the challenges of the impact of the coronavirus pandemic, and looking to actually collaborate better with each other to find solutions across the board. I think having that diversity of gender can only be to the positive.
Often it is being stressed that there is a lack of women leadership, to guide and promote young female engineers, to push them towards their career paths in the construction and infrastructure sectors. Has this issue been persistent with some of the clients that you're working with?
We've got to be a bit careful as a law firm about criticising the construction industry for a lack of diversity, because, law graduates are more than 50% of law graduates are female, and yet law firms still seem to struggle to get a lot of female representation within senior roles. Whereas for the construction industry, it varies from country to country, but I think, it's less than 20% of engineering graduates are female. So the construction industry doesn't have the same amount of women coming into its business that, you know, by comparison, legal firms do. And I don't know the exact statistics, but I think the construction industry does a marginally better job of retaining the smaller numbers of women it has coming into its business and promoting them into senior roles. So yes, there's definitely, in inverted commas, a lack of senior female engineers in the construction industry, but that speaks more to the lack of women taking STEM subjects at graduate level.
And what about the oil and gas sector, Michelle? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that, you know, traditionally these sectors are male dominated, and I think one reason for that, I take the point you just made about sort of senior role models for the more sort of junior women coming through, and then the challenges that that are faced in terms of, you know, women who want to combine a career with a family as well, and the challenges that brings. And I think, you know, absence of role models, but also flexibility of working is something that you know is potentially an issue. And that's something that, as a law firm, as Rachel says, you know, we're in a law firm, so we have our own sort of issues. And one of the things that we found in terms of retaining talent and promoting women through the ranks is to have a more flexible or recognize flexibility in approach, whether it's people who work part-time, whether it's people who work remotely, and just having a setup which is supportive of that environment. And interestingly, I was thinking earlier that actually one of the things that's come out of the pandemic generally across the board is that there is so much more recognition of people's ability to work remotely and in a flexible way. And therefore, you know, for the construction industry as well, which has been very much a sort of presenteeism, you know, because of people being on site or you know, really being in with clients. I believe that one of the, you know, hopefully the positives to come out of this will be that it demonstrates that people can work in different ways as well. And I would very much hope that that also, you know, enables the construction industry as well to sort of, you know, to adopt that sort of going forward, which I think would only be for the benefit in terms of encouraging women to remain into more senior roles within the business.
Rachel, you made some really important point about how, you know, there are a lot of female law graduates, but the number of female lawyers are comparatively lesser. What do you think is one of the most important challenges that we need to overcome here?
Well, I think the point that Michelle just raised about how, you know, flexibility in terms of working arrangements, that's one of the solutions to the obstacles, because I think one of the obstacles in the past in some law firms has been a lack of flexible working arrangements, which has just led to sort of women dropping out of the profession, you know, before they really reach very senior positions within their career. I think actually most law firms now are doing a really good job of addressing that, ourselves included, I think. I think a lot of the obstacles to gender diversity that we have been facing are now falling away. And I think that's sort of being reflected slowly but surely in increased numbers of women in senior positions.
And what do you think about that, Michelle?
I agree with that. And the issue, I think, you know, as a firm, you know, we have a global program which supports diversity and inclusion, and we also support an initiative called the #SeeHer campaign, which is designed to promote and improve the perception of women in advertising. And you'll have seen that, you know, in the region, there's more and more emphasis coming up, you know, not just construction, across the board in relation to, and it's both at expat and also local level as well. Back to the theme of how the construction industry, you know, or any industry sort of, you know, can do that more. I think being supportive of each other and recognizing each other's sort of challenges and you know, concerns as part of your work. You know, we all work very hard. We all, you know, work long hours when we need to for deadlines. You know, obviously 110% committed to our clients in relation to that, but also, as Rachel said, supporting each other. Take it as a positive. You know, it's part of how you operate that you know, makes it succeed.
On that note, we've come to an end to this video. Thank you so much, Rachel and Michelle, for joining us today. It was wonderful having you on our show.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
To all our viewers who've been tuned in, don't forget to hit the like button and share the video with your friends and colleagues. We will come back soon with another interesting episode in the Expert Interview series. Until then, thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.